Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Daily Sales Show by Sell Better. We are so excited to talk to you today. If this is your first time attending the show, welcome. If you are a regular, welcome back. We do this every single day, same time, same place. You can check out our calendar of events at sellbetter.xyz or by scanning that lovely QR code there on your screen. Today, our sponsors are Aligned, Apollo, and JB Sales. Thank you so much to our partners for making this happen. I do want to drop a special offer from Aligned because we have our special guest today from Aligned. So I'll put that in the chat here for you. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but just so you have a little sneak peek of what's to come. Today, we're talking about mutual action plans with none other but Gal Aga from Aligned. Welcome.
Hi. Great to be here. Thanks so much.
I think out of like everyone who could possibly talk about mutual action plans, I've used them for years, but just one conversation with you, I feel like I learned so much more. I was able to add more to my arsenal as a salesperson of like, here's how I'm going to transform the way that I'm using mutual action plans in my deal. So I'm so glad that you're here today.
Amazing. Yeah, really, it's one of my favorite topics. So yeah, excited about this conversation for sure. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, I have the Sell Better bracelet, and it's
Oh
not for the
my
show.
God.
Yeah, I kept it for months now. It's been on my hand. So
Oh,
like,
we had
yeah,
a
we're fans as well.
we had a wild experience on a cliff riding in a car in the cliffs of San Francisco. And after that, everyone in the car needed like a friendship bracelet to really bond our experience together. Someone tried to run us off
Yeah,
the road
sure.
and we had a phenomenal driver. Shout out to Daniel who saved us
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. That was crazy. Yeah, for sure.
Glad you have the bracelet to look back on that. Let's talk about today's agenda. While I bring this up, I want to run a quick poll to see who's in the room, who we're chatting with. And Maria, can you help me out with the poll? It's having a hard time. But today we're going to be talking about what is a mutual action plan, also known as a map. What's a map? Why do we use it? How should we use it? What are some key things that we could do to use a map? And then I want to come back to those common mistakes. It's something that I think there's a lot of people who are currently using a map who maybe there's a it's not working for you the way you anticipate or the way that you expected it to. And Gal, I know you've seen it all. So like we'll talk about what some of those mistakes are and what we could be doing differently. Fair?
Yeah, yeah, sounds good.
Let's see who's in the room really quick. Ooh, a lot of AEs.
A lot of
Hello.
A's.
Welcome to everyone.
Amazing.
Let us know if you're in that other category. Let us know in the chat what department you're in. Would love to see. Just a quick before we dive in here, if you could put your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your Zoom. And then if you change your chat really quick for me, there's a little blue box at the bottom that says hosts and panelists. If you switch that to everyone so that we can all see your comments and questions, that would be fantastic. But kick us off, Gal. What can you just define mutual action plan for us really quick before we jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can call it a framework and you can call it a tool. I think both of them make sense. But essentially, it's about creating an alignment between the seller and the buyer on a path towards value, like either closing the deal or getting value from the deal, but in alignment throughout the process. So as a tool, it's a project management tool for your deal, essentially. And what it is, you create an actual list that you build with your champion typically, of how you're going to move throughout the topic, throughout the project, and continuously align throughout the process on that list. So what are the steps that we're both going to take in order to achieve? Ideally, it's going to be tied into value, into the success that we're here to deliver together in this partnership.
I really like, so you've mentioned like together and partnership, and I think that's the mutual part of mutual action plan that sometimes goes skipped over, but that's the most
Yeah.
important part, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's actually one of the common mistakes we probably touched in at the end. Like a lot of sellers look at it as their close plan and also write it in the language of seller language in terms of instead of a buyer language. And I think one of the key things that I've seen that help the most get something like this adopted is really understanding first why your buyer would care, as it's a bit unnatural sometimes for reps to adopt this for the first time. You're used to follow up and do another call and suggest the next step, or they suggest the next step, and you're basically creating a document or a tool, a place where you're really working together on a project. It requires a little bit of positioning and a little bit of a mindset of we're in this together, right? We're working towards a shared goal.
Mm-hmm.
And also about the timing. If you do it too early and if they don't see value, for example, yet, then it wouldn't make sense. That's another thing that we say a lot, like introducing it too early. If there's no value yet defined, I don't want to go and start a project because I don't know if there's still a project, if there's still really a process that I want to go and try to solve, try to prove that we're the good fit, right? But jumping the gun a little bit, we'll touch a bit more on that later.
Right. And I feel like we've all been in a situation like that where you're like, someone is buying a house or whatever purchasing decision, and they're like presenting you with the next step, and you're like, wait, hold on, like I got to do my research first. I'm not there yet, right? This is either moving too fast or putting it in language that we don't understand. Okay.
I love that. Actually, I love that you said that, because I think a mutual action plan is beyond that singular next step, right? So you could be at a place where you just started, you had an initial conversation, an intro call, a demo call, discovery call, however you call it. And like to build a full blown, let's take like a mid-market enterprise process, build a full blown and mutual action plan at that point, it's premature most of the times, right? So you typically lock that additional next step. You suggest the next step if they're there, if they're seeing value. And I think, a mutual action plan is a deeper stage. Like we had a call of 2 or 3. Typically, it's being presented in a pre-POC, pre kind of deeper evaluation. Okay, we want to really now dive in deeper and take another step and really try to tackle some success criteria for this process, and plan together how we really prove to you that this is a good fit, and how we go and how would we go from here to ensuring we meet your value timeline, right? Then that's another step further. That's
I like the timeline piece you bring up, because I think it connects to a question. For me personally, as a seller, I was always like, how can we create this urgency? And you hear everybody talk about urgency. And I feel like mutual action plans kind of take that feeling that I need to drive urgency off the table, because it's just, here's our agreed upon timeline. And it's almost like a checklist, right? Where in order to meet both parties, goals and needs and deliverables or whatever needs to happen, here's the plan. Here's what's going to happen. And here's the times associated with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels easier. No need to push on like urgency or throw random discounts in. So talk to me a little bit. Well, actually, let's ask the audience here. Is everyone in here already using a mutual action plan? Is it something you want to use? Go ahead and type it in the chat. If you use one, or if you want to use one, if you're looking to improve yours, if whatever it is, let us know in the chat here so we can kind of see where we're at. But I would love to ask you if you think that there's like some sort of cutoff for deals. Like, should it just be enterprise deals? Could you use this with smaller businesses? Like, where do you think that feeling is when it comes to maps?
Yeah, it's a great one. So think for the most part, it's you have to have meat in the process. There has to be depth, right? It's not we're having a conversation and then we're talking pricing and you're the decision maker. Maybe you have 2 or 3 more people that want to see it in another demo, and from there we close. So it's an overkill if you present it into something like this. Unless, by the way, like I will say already that if it's used in the traditional way as a spreadsheet, it's a little bit of an overkill. You're adding complexity maybe into the deal. But some of the tools like that offer mutual action plans can simplify it a little bit. So if it's part of a room, right, for an SMB deal, if it's part of a digital sales room, a deal room that you're sharing, and you host all of the collateral, all the content there anyway, and this is where you enable your champion to sell internally. And this is where all of the buying groups, everyone kind of come in, and you have a few of the next steps that you've talked about, and you're keeping track. That's like a mini mutual action plan that helps drive urgency, but it's not like that traditional one that you sync on. So if we're really focusing the conversation on that more traditional, let's have a conversation and let's kind of fully share how we typically work with companies and add value and help them evaluate, make decision, implement, etc., and understand what's important on your side, what do the people on your side need. Then, for the most part, it's mid-market enterprise. Typical, I see, the POCs, pilots, proof of values type of processes, custom demos, resales. These are the best ones. When you have a sales engineer and they have multiple technical people, then it really, really adds value at that point.
Because you have so many people coming together in one place and it's all visible. I see a couple people who sent private messages and in the chat here all saying they're using one, but they're struggling to get people to stick to it. And I'm taking that from the standpoint of like your prospects or your the person that you're talking to on the other end, or maybe it's your team. You have any insights there or thoughts on getting people to join into the
absolutely
plan?
Yeah. So there are tactics and there are tips. I think before that, I would go and try to look at when we're introducing it. So sometimes it's not how you're doing it and how you're trying to get them engaged. It's you should have introduced it in the first place type of thing, or it's introduced too early. Okay, so for example, if we're trying to push deal and we're trying to get on a call and we don't have a strong champion, so they won't use it, okay, in the first place. So you have to have a champion that will that is serious about, let's say we're pre-POC, that serious about going through this POC with you, potentially making a decision, understands that we need to align right now on success criteria, right? We want to make sure that you make the best use of your time and this goes as smoothly as possible. So for that, really, for today's call, the goal is to both align on success criteria and the scope of this POC, and also have a deeper conversation on overall, what would you need and how we typically help you from here to go and evaluate tools like ours. So, if you have that champion, if you can have that conversation and position it properly, then that's before everything, before any tactic of going and driving that engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So I think really to recap that part, it's about introducing it at the right time, making sure that there's a strong champion, that there's value, and about how you're positioning it. I can go through these a bit more into the details if needed, like be more tactical. But to then go and create engagement on an ongoing basis, make sure they use it. So fewer of the tricks are to introduce it in follow-up calls, right? So let's say we had it, we went over it pre-POC, we're now mid-POC or end POC. Okay, at the end of the call, leave a few minutes, flip the screen, right? Turn the screen sharing on and hey, John, wanted to just make sure we're still on track with our plan. We mentioned that our next steps from here are going to be this and that. Has anything changed on your side? I know, and right, what buying process stays the same? Almost none. So that's one, and when you do that, okay, when you keep that place as the place where you align, right? It helps them and it helps you. If you don't do that, it's just going to be that list, that thing that you talked about at the beginning, and then it's out of date. It's outdated. It's the dates are not correct or the steps are not correct. So then, of course, they won't use it and you won't use it. That's one thing. And another kind of tactical things that I see helping, to use it in asynchronically, right? So you can go in a dedicated tool, a mutual action plan tool, like the one that you can try after this call. You can go and write in the comments. There's actual conversation on each steps. So you can go ping people, right? So you can ping someone on a date. It will send them a reminder. You can go into John needs to send a list of requirements, okay? And right there in the comment, hey, John, I want to follow up on this. We want to make sure that we're ready for the kickoff call for our pilot next week, right? So you could do this also in a spreadsheet. It's just less natural. Yeah, I think these are the key things, and make sure that you update it. So a lot of sellers, what I see is they don't keep it updated. So if I'm not keeping it updated, we just had the call last week and it moved and the dates are wrong, then yeah, okay, it's that thing that we created, but
it's not a correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're bringing it up, like making time for it on any call that you have to revisit it. The asynchronous, like tagging someone. It's kind of like, I mean, everyone working globally now, it's like you're tagging someone on Slack, even when they're not online, right? Or so whatever it is, so that you're working with someone, even when you're not on the phone with them. And then just you keeping it up to date too, like putting time on your calendar, maybe to go update. Can you share an example? And I know you're going to be using Aligned, but just an example of kind of the things or a structure or something that you would put on a mutual action plan. Do you mind sharing your screen?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm selling to you, Leslie. I hope that's okay.
Okay, sell to me.
All right. So this is a bit beyond the mutual action plan, but I'll focus on the mutual action plan. Essentially, you're seeing a full deal room where mutual action plan is part of, and I'll start with the bad one. Okay.
So this is an example of like something that might be overwhelming mutual action plan.
Exactly. So I think one of the things that I'm seeing a lot, so essentially the line we get every week, like dozens of templates. We build templates for mutual action plans for others, and a lot of time we get these things. So a few things that I want you to just pay attention to here. One, just ask yourself one question when you're building the mutual action plan. If I'm a buyer, okay, would I be encouraged to use this? Would I feel that it's giving me clarity about how to buy this type of product? Or is this scary? Are you overdoing? So we really come across a lot of these situations where it's so detailed, it's so overwhelming, where it's actually going to do more damage than good in that scenario. Okay, whoa, do I want to go through this sales process type of thing?
Yeah, this is too much. I'm done.
Okay, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, exactly. So it takes some time to think about these things, and I'll show you in a second. So this one really feels like a long shopping list, long text, right? No hierarchy. Everything is at the same level. There's no, like, for example, objective, task, steps, stages, however you want to break it down, subtasks. You have words like build mutual action plan. Like a lot of the language is more seller language, and it ends at signature. Okay, so this is what not to do. What you can do is this is an example of what you can do. Maybe let's just zoom in a little bit. So in this example, a few things. Also in a spreadsheet, you can do some of these things, right? So I'm already hiding. If I'll go right now, click the screen and start the mutual action plan conversation, in front of me, there are milestones, okay? There's something that's more higher level that organizes information for me as a buyer, okay? And it's less scary, it's easier, right? It's more tidy up. So that's one. Secondly is, the ability to collapse, go in a spreadsheet as well. Just there's the ability to do something like that and start introducing things in that way, and it will help them as well. And you can, after you finish a certain area, you can even hide it. So that's another thing. And another one is, words. You can see right now, like the language is easier to understand. We have the POC, we have sign NDA, evaluation process alignment. So this is, for example, if you have in your process an actual conversation for mutual action plans, which I really love. It's great for enterprise deals, a mid-market maybe. Okay, you probably want to combine it with a POC kickoff call, for example, and do it at the end. But if you have something like that, where you build the mutual action plan in a call, just call it evaluation process alignment. This is how we're going to align on how we're going to help you make a decision and how the process will look like towards meeting your goals. So this could be a 30-minute sync, for example.
So like language that's external, not necessarily what we're using on the inside. Like we're not going to call it a disco call. We're not going to call it anything that would be like for our internal team. It's something that makes sense to the prospect.
Exactly. Yep. So introduction, custom demo, evaluation, process alignment. Exactly. You can see a lot of these things use that language. And I think last thing here is look at where it ends. So I'll ask you this. If I'm building a plan and asking you questions, okay, when do you want to get this deal signed by? And you're a buyer, what does that make you feel?
You're just looking for my signature and then you're out.
Exactly. So signature and more than that, one of the benefits of mutual action plans is actually the discovery opportunity, right? So if you build it as a step into your sales process, where as part of entering the POC, you have that alignment. Let's say it's here, for example. It could be part of this. You're saying step one, sub-step one of the POC, we're doing mutual action plan alignment or evaluation process alignment, or it's a full separate call. And then basically you can, at that point, use that for discovery. So for example, would love to hear, like, this is how we typically work, and this is how we help customers like yours, like you, evaluate our partnership. Would love to hear how that sounds, and what would those involved in your end will need to see in order to make a confident decision.
Yeah.
Okay. One question, discovery. And they're going to share who's going to be involved and what do they need to see. Okay, why is that important? Success, do you have any predefined criteria for decision, for success, for evaluation? So then we can have that conversation about the process. Then timeline. Do you have a specific date where you'd like to be able to see these results by, and why? Or if it's more of a non-active project scenario, we'll try to rephrase and say something like, I know this is not a planned project, but where would it fit into your priorities? And when ideally would it make sense to try to get these results we talked about by, right? So we're focusing the mutual action plan conversation around discovery. And then they're telling me, okay, what results, when they want to achieve these results and why. And we can have a conversation around that. And that's the ultimate urgency driver. Leslie, right? You mentioned earlier about driving urgency. So if a mutual action plan is tied to the fact that I need to get the results by end of March, then anytime that there's a delay, and I'll update here and I'll go and say, for example, Leslie, okay, seems like there is a delay with procurement. Okay, for example, I'll write something like that, and I'll tell you I've updated the timeline. It looks like end of March for your kickoff of your campaign, whatever, what's driving the urgency. Looks like it's going to be harder to reach. And I'm tying it to the fact that there's been a delay with procurement. I'm driving that urgency using the mutual action plan.
I love it. Yeah. I think I really liked the couple of points where we're driving the urgency, but then we're keeping them in mind. And I want to really emphasize that, because I think that a lot of times I did this too, using a mutual action plan. It's like me for the seller, right? It's my steps keeping me in track, and you don't have to show all of those to your sellers. I do want to time flies when you're having fun. So I do want to talk really quickly about common mistakes, but if you have any questions, if you want to pop those into the Q&A section while we're just doing a quick, give us here's a list of your top, what you see. People are making common mistakes in maps. What's the number one thing from your perspective that you're seeing people do that they could stop doing today?
Yeah, so real quick. So I think the first thing is a lot of leaders. So I'll give you an example. I'll try to give the first one as an example. When you go and implement something like Medic, right, or challenger sales, or deep value selling, and really working on demos skills, and you don't just show it once or give someone sellers a framework and that's it. It just works. I think a lot of leaders just build a mutual action plan, build the spreadsheets, and give it to their team. Maybe do one quick training and just expect magic. It is an advanced methodology. It does take time to train, and you need to do the internal selling of why they need to use it, why buyers would care. Okay, give examples, give them the talk track. Okay, all of these things. Secondly, I think a lot of people treat it as a close plan. So the language, I think we touched it a little bit. The language is a seller language, and it ends at the closing. So prospects really don't care. A third one is not having it built into your sales process. So just giving AEs the mutual action plan and then telling them, hey, maybe introduce it at this stage, maybe introduce it at that stage. The more you leave it for them to decide, the really good sellers will get it and know how to dance. Mostly enterprise sellers, that it's dancing. It's all about dancing throughout the process and making these smart decisions. But for the most part, you want to try and have it built into the process. A fourth one is, I think we touched that as well. So a lot of reps just build it and forget about it. Yep. And the last one, we also talked about doing more damage than good with these scary long lists. Yeah. So I think these are the key things.
We do have a question from Steve that I want to hit. Maria, can you drop the link again? I know Gal has mentioned you can do this on spreadsheets. You can do this in however you want. But if you'd like to take a peek at Aligned, like he showed on the screen, we do have a special code. And it's Aligned_SellBetter10, get you 10% off of an enterprise plan. There are a couple free options in there as well. So we'll link that in the chat for everyone. But quick fire answer here. Steve wants to know, does using a map help you win a deal from a competitor that doesn't offer one?
Anything that drives a better experience, I think better experience wins. think it's one of the key determining factors for why buyers choose a certain vendor. So from that perspective, and yeah, I think mostly from that perspective, but also from the fact that you have more control. So if a map helps you with discovery, and if a map helps you sync and control the process better, and you're more tight on the process than your competitor is not, then yeah, for sure.
And if you're making it about them, like you said, right? It's like
yeah,
can completely change their experience. I will say, like,
I can send.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No, I can send we have recordings of buyers responding to mutual action plans. Okay, so when you do it well, we really hear like buyers saying, wow, all of this in front of me in one place, and having the ability to really understand. I don't know how to buy this kind of tools. Really, the fact that we interview buyers a lot. So the fact that the seller was able to show me all of that, and we're able to sync throughout the process, it's incredible. Like, it really means a lot. You're showing that you're a partner that they can work with, and that you deliver on their goals. That's what it says.
And we just scratched the surface. But I do like going back to that house buying analogy. It's like, I don't know how to buy a house. It's not something I do every day. So seeing this plan in front of me and feeling like I have partnership and control with your real estate agent, like, but it's your buyers with you and you're selling to them. It's like this shared walkthrough of something that they don't do on a regular basis. I think it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I know it was just barely the beginning. We need more time.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I really love this. Great questions for everyone. And thanks for having me.
Yeah. And if we didn't get a chance to follow up with you, we'll follow up with you afterwards. You'll also get the recording to your inbox. Join us again. We're here every day, Monday, same time, sellbetter.xyz, and we'll see you next time. Take care.